Video game speedruns have been gaining traction for years, with gamers trying to finish a game by any means necessary as fast as humanly or inhumanly possible. Games like Metroid, Mario 64, The Legend of Zelda series, and more have been broken time and time again by determined individuals to try and get their record down as low as possible. And leaderboards have been created to figure out who is the best in the world in each respective category. With the ever-increasing popularity, it was only a matter of time before a game developer decided to embrace this approach to gaming. And that's exactly what the development team at Matt Makes Games did with the release of Celeste in early 2018. Celeste is a 2D platforming game where the player takes control of Madeline, an anxious, isolated girl who is trying to climb the game's namesake mountain. Along the way, she meets others up on the mountain who become an integral part of the story, and she must struggle against all of the obstacles the mountain throws at her, including spikes, disturbed spirits, monsters, and her darker half Madeline given a physical form. Celeste's story is a metaphor, masked in a way that, while obvious if you're paying attention, still feels like it's just a girl climbing a supernatural mountain. The journey covers what it feels like dealing with anxiety and depression, which can seem as insurmountable as climbing a literal mountain. Madeline represents your self-doubts. The monsters that appear in the Mirror Temple are created by Madeline and Theo's insecurities, but the others you meet along the way are the support of others in your life. At one point in the game, Madeline begins having a panic attack due to the actions of Madeline, but Theo is present to help calm her down and keep both of them moving forward. The metaphor is on the nose, but was made as a one-to-one recreation of the experiences of one of the developers, and the emotional story combined with the difficult gameplay makes the connection that even when something seems impossible, if you keep at it and keep moving forward, you can eventually reach your goal. The controls are deceptively simple, with the only initial movement options being running, jumping, climbing, and dashing in each of the 8 cardinal directions. But each stage Madeline moves through contains their own unique forms of movement, such as bubbles that move in varying ranges, bouncy clouds, moving platforms, and springs. Madeline can only dash once before needing to hit the ground or use another movement option to refresh this ability. But through the use of a mix of dashing, climbing, and a little creativity, any screen can be solved and overcome. A first-time playthrough will typically take between 7 and 10 hours, but despite the simplicity of the controls, there are mechanics that work in unexpected ways that allow this game to be completed incredibly quickly. In 2019, Celeste sound designer Kevin Regame spoke on how Celeste was created with speedrunning in mind, and the more you look at the game, the more obvious that becomes. Whether it's simple changes like an in-game timer, cutscene skipping, secret paths that allow a level to be completed more quickly provided you can complete some very precise movements, or advanced movement options that seemingly don't even make sense on the surface, it's clear that Celeste is made to be done fast. Techniques like dash cancels, hyper dashes, and wave dashes, which are just pressing directional inputs, run, and dash quickly in succession, allow for more horizontal or vertical movement in either direction. And wave dashes allow for a player to both get more horizontal momentum and still maintain their dash when they leave the ground. Madeline maintains her momentum when in the air following a dash, which allows for some insane skips and movement options that look entirely different from what anyone would see while playing through the game casually. For such an easy to understand initial control scheme, Celeste's movement opened up so much once runners determined the best ways to move in any direction. And many screens were specifically designed to allow for these movement options to shine and create skips for specific obstacles. Dash cancels are executed by dashing and jumping at the same time, which halves your dash momentum for more precise movements. Hyper dashes are executed the same way, but while holding down. Dash cancels will give Madeline more height, and hyper dashes will provide more horizontal speed. Wave dashes are executed the same way as the hyper dash, but you dash diagonally into the ground before jumping again to both gain the speed and refresh Madeline's dash for more varied movement options. None of these mechanics are unintended, none of them are bugs, and all of them are made for speed. Going back to the Kevin Regame interview, he had said that the part of the process that allowed for speedruns was largely attributed to him, and that they wanted to allow players to experience the media as they saw fit, whether that meant playing through it once or going through it 10,000 times and getting their time as low as possible. During development, their team broke the game in half over and over again, determining what was possible and adjusting the casual route to be easy enough to execute, not to feel frustrating, while still leaving in the cool skips for anyone who wants to complete it as fast as possible. When the Celeste team decided to allow for speedrunning to be a main part of the game, they maintained that there were 3 core requirements for it to be a success. 1. That casual playthroughs work and be wonderful. 2. Let speedrunners break it and have a good time and just toil it out for them. And also, not just allow for it, but design around it. So if you know the trick, you can skip this part of the room. And then also trying to bridge that gap. So people who may not have done speedruns in the past might feel empowered to try it for the first time. These requirements have absolutely been met, as Celeste has received universal acclaim from critics and game journalists alike, who, as we all know, haven't really been recognized for being incredible at games. While simultaneously taking a spot close to the top of the most popular speedrunning games, alongside Super Mario 64 and the Legend of Zelda series. A common complaint I see from people who watch speedruns is that using glitches or exploits feel like cheating. Rather than marking off strange actions in the game as bugs and trying to patch them out, the development team found them prior to release and decided to leave them in to give the game more depth as intended mechanics. This is undoubtedly a huge reason behind Celeste's success, but it also helps the game itself is incredible. A casual playthrough will be rewarding and discuss themes that aren't often thought to have a place in gaming. And it's just a small step further to catch the bug and want to give your own run a try, just to see how long it would take you, given the knowledge that's available on the internet. My first playthrough took just over 7 hours to complete, and in just a couple days, I was able to get that time down to under 2 hours. The world record is currently sitting at under 27 minutes, and while it seems unfathomable, it's a mesmerizing experience to watch a top player or even a task run this game. I've never been disappointed with Celeste for all the times I've played through it, and its accessibility and genuinely good story make for what I believe is the perfect game for speedrunning. With that though, thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you later.